All right, so this is a very exciting guest for us this week. It brought us out of our vacation mode. We already said we were in like hibernation. We're back because of this. So she's a two-time Olympian with Team Canada, Olympic record holder, EA Sports cover star, and the newest signing for the Toronto PWHL franchise, and so many other things. But I need to stop because we'll be here for a while if I just read your resume. Sarah Nurse, welcome to the Athletic Hockey Show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me in that incredible intro. Are we serious?
There's a lot going on there, but thank you for doing this. Again, it's very exciting. It's been a very busy few weeks in women's hockey, but an exciting time. PWHL officially launches. We've got the cities, franchise players. What has all this been like for you, Sarah?
It's been a whirlwind. It's been so surreal, incredibly crazy. And it feels like everything has happened pretty quickly over the last few weeks, but this is the time that we'd been working towards for so long. So I even think about puck drop in January, like it feels so far away, but it's never been closer. And I think that that's pretty incredible.
We were kind of saying off the top, it's almost felt like from the outside as we're like watching all the announcements, and like you have these moments of being like, well, I wish we knew like the team name or like the logo or the jersey was ready. But like there's so much going on behind the scenes from you guys. Like it's been almost like drinking from a fire hose is what Sean said. It's like, it's just like, okay, here's the to-do list, go, 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 go. But it's all like exciting and fun stuff leading up to January.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that obviously having those tangible items are going to like create even more buzz. And I do wish that we had those. And I know that like for the last 4 years, I feel like there are things going on behind the scenes has been like our tagline, but it's so true. Like there's so many moving parts happening at all times. And so we know that we have incredible people behind the scenes who are making a lot of awesome things happen.
Yeah. And you know, we were kind of talking about this in the intro. I think there is a bright side to not having the logos ready or the team names ready, because you guys can just kind of cycle through this, right? And have another news cycle where you guys can here, like here's the sweater, here's what it looks like, and just kind of stay in that public eye, right, for the next couple months, because I would imagine that's important. Like you guys want to stay in the news cycle as much as you can, and really, you know, kind of put yourself out there as much as possible, and that's an easy way to do it.
Yeah, I think with every kind of announcement that we've had, we wanted to make an impact. And obviously we don't want to leave breadcrumbs for people, but there's a way that things have to be. And so obviously announcing the team names, the cities, that was super exciting. And then announcing how the free agency and how the draft was going to work is going to be exciting. We're going to have a draft. Eventually we're going to have team colors and team names. We're going to have the facilities be announced. We're going to have the schedule announced. So there are so many exciting pieces that are going to come together in the next few months. And I can't wait, like 20 years from now, there's going to be some story about us that is going to put everything together and everything's going to make sense.
Yeah, it's been really awesome to see from the outside, just watching as media members here. And Sarah, obviously you sign in Toronto. It's close to home. Can you kind of take us through that free agency process for yourself and why Toronto was the right fit?
Yeah. It was an interesting process, something that happened very, very quickly, a lot quicker than I had expected, but I really wanted to lean into the process because it was so new and it was something that we have never experienced before. And I was genuinely curious. I wanted to know about each market. I wanted to know who the GMs were. I wanted to know their visions and their plans. And so I was fortunate enough to have conversations with a few GMs and get that picture painted for me. But at the end of the day, when I was able to speak with Gina, which I was like extremely nervous for, because having that relationship with her, I was extremely nervous because I was like, man, like she knows I'm not selling myself. Like she knows me. She knows who I am as a person. She knows who I am as a player, and she knows what I bring on the ice, not the ice. And so that was nerve-wracking in itself. But after speaking with her and just hearing what she thought that we could do in Toronto and where I fit into that, it really was a no-brainer. And I was immediately like, I want to be a part of this. I heard about Renata and Blair being announced, and I was like, this sounds like the best. And I really, really want to be a part of this. And so we were able to get the deal done, which I'm incredibly honored by, because obviously I know how like touted a franchise and how many people do want to be in Toronto. And so it was a cool process. I think I'm like relieved that it's kind of over, because I get to have some stability, which I feel so grateful to have.
Was that one of those moments where you like talk to Kia or like talk to family members or just like even friends that, you know, being like, is this what free agency's like? Is this so stressful? Like Kendall Coyne was talking about it. She was like saying to her husband, Michael, who's obviously been through NFL free agency, being like, is this what you do? I don't like this. This is stressful.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember talking to Kia a little while ago, because when she first was in New York, she actually ended up getting traded to Phoenix. So she didn't really have a say in that. Right. But this past year, when she ended up in Seattle, she went through free agency and she actually like got to pick where she thought the best situation was for her after agreeing to terms. And so just kind of interesting perspectives on that front. And it's kind of funny, like I think of Darnell, who's in the NHL, and he necessarily hasn't been traded or anything like that. So it's a bit of a different perspective. And so this is something like I don't think we've ever seen and like we'll ever see, but it was unique for sure.
I think it's just so cool that you guys have the opportunity to do this now. I remember the first PWHL draft that I covered, and it was just like, oh, like you pick where you go. And that's okay too, but like it had to be that way based on the league and where things were at. But I just think it's like such a cool sign of growth that agents can be calling GMs and you, Sarah, can be, you know, mulling your options over and thinking of where you want to be and what's best for you and where you're going to maximize your earnings and your potential. Like that's just not something we've really talked about in women's hockey before. And it's significant that we can now.
Yeah, for sure. And I think like you hit the nail right on the head. Like the fact that we're at the table, the fact that players have agents, have representation, the fact that we're negotiating contract. I remember my first year in the CWHL. It was the last year of the CWHL, but I had like a 1-page contract that said I was going to make $2,000 because I was a rookie. And so it was like, sign here, please. And so like just thinking about where we've come from that point. And I know the girls have been through it. Like I think of like Hillary or Pooh, like they've played in the C-Dub for many, many years and didn't make anything. And so the fact that we're at this point now is truly, truly special.
Yeah, you're part of the bargaining committee, right? Whenever
sorry, that was still just my delayed response. Like, oh,
that's what, to $2,000? Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Like Jana didn't make any money. I'm like, that's great. Anyways, sorry.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
So you were part of the board. You're part of the bargaining committee. You were in on a lot of the, you know, negotiations when it really got down to brass tacks with the formation of the league. Was the three free agent 15 round draft format, was that something that you guys went back and forth on, or was it at one point, was there, okay, like, was it, maybe it's 5, maybe it's more, maybe it's less, like, was that a give and take thing landing on the particular, you know, player movement format that you guys ended up with?
To be honest, talking about behind the scenes, we've had conversations about this for the last 2 years. And we had working groups put together right after we came back from the Olympics, I believe, of players that basically came up with this concept. And we had like weeks of meetings formulating how ideally we'd want this to work. And the one thing that really did come out of that was the concept of the 3 players signed as your franchise free agent players, whatever you want to call them, and then the draft. And so that's been something that has pretty much been in the works for the last 18 months. And again, as we got closer to this date, it was kind of like finalizing that, trimming up those final, you know, little details, just to make sure that we had draft integrity. You know, we want players dispersed in different markets. We want it to be as competitive as possible. And so it was really important for us that we nailed down exactly how we wanted to do this, but how we were going to have the most integrity and how we were going to have the most competitive organizations across the league.
And you got a taste of that firsthand, right? Because the process opens and you're getting calls from people you hadn't spoken to, and maybe you're getting some offers that you didn't anticipate getting. And like, I mean, because we've heard about some of those. So I think that seems like proof of concept, right? That you're talking to these different franchises, and you really do get a feel for, like you said, the integrity of the process, and knowing that this obviously isn't predisposed. It's not pre-planned. Like, it was a free market kind of thing that you guys were going to, or at least it certainly sounds that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for myself, although like Toronto was high on my priority list, like I wasn't signed, sealed, and delivered to Toronto last week.
Right.
I wanted to know what the vision for the franchise was. I wanted to know what facilities were like. There were so many little things that I wanted to know. And so like when it came to free agency period, I was able to have conversations with different GMs and meet different people and get the real picture and the real story. And I do feel so fortunate that I've been able to go through this process, because I do know that, some of my teammates didn't get to go through this. And so I definitely leaned into that process. And I know that the girls are maybe a little bit nervous for sure about the upcoming draft, but couldn't be more excited.
And, you talk about this process that's been going on behind the scenes. And I mean, I know that you specifically have been a really big part of getting women's hockey to this place. I mean, you were on the board in the PWHPA. Now you're on the executive board for the PWHL Players Association. You were on that player bargaining committee for this like first of its kind CBA, like the first time that there's been a CBA ready before a league actually starts in any pro sport, of like any of the major professional sports. Somebody will yell at me in the comments if I got that wrong, but I'm based on my research. I mean, it's just huge. Like, have you allowed yourself to step back and enjoy the moment and like look back on like what you and other players have done here? Because I think part of what makes this so cool is not just that it's happening, but how much of it's been player driven.
Ooh, not yet, because there's still a lot of work to be done.
Right.
But I think it's funny. I had a moment with my brother and his girlfriend actually the other day, because they're having a baby in March. And my brother looked at me and he's like, man, I really hope it's a girl, because like she's going to know that she has this hockey league that you built. And I was like, I didn't build it. I helped. But it was like, she's going to have a place to play because like you did this. And so it kind of made me take a step back and be like, wow, like I did do something, and I've always wanted my impact in hockey. I've wanted to win championships. I want to be a really great player, be one of the best in the world. But I want my impact off the ice to be, my legacy and what I'm remembered by, because I think that is even more impactful than what I can do on the ice.
He's your brother. He's allowed to gas you up like that. It's fine.
No, honestly, it was so cute because he's usually
really
the total opposite, like the total opposite. Like he was like, I'm single, and he's like, do I need to find you somebody? And I was like, EJ, really?
Come on.
Really, leave me alone.
Stop this.
Yeah, but he's sweet.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
How's that home opener in Toronto gonna feel?
It's gonna feel incredible. I hope there's a light show. To be honest.
All right. See, this is where you
listening.
This is where you flex your franchise player muscle. You're like, all right, I'm one of the first three. Let's get some lasers, please.
I hope the lights are out. There are lasers everywhere. The music's bumping and the crowd's rocking. It's been so long since we had a true home game, so I'm pretty excited for my walk-in fit. Oh, I'm so pumped.
Love it. We need a good slow motion walk. They always like the TikTok watch.
I feel like if there's anyone who's gonna have like that part of things like organized ahead of time, it's gonna be Sarah.
Absolutely. This is what I've been waiting for.
I remember there was like I think it was the Calgary World Championships where like the Hockey Canada social team like started doing like the fit checks off the bus every day, and everyone started freaking out. And I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Look at this.
It is. We love it.
Yeah. That's great. Sarah Nurse's contract actually has like her salary and then light show, please.
Yes, plus a light show. Thank you.
That was she runs a hard bargain. There's gonna be a light show, the Fits, and Roger Nurse sitting front row.
Absolutely. Somebody get the camera on that guy.
I think
they always do though. If you're like
he'll find it. He knows where it is.
Whatever really broadcast, they always just like if Sarah does something, they've like zoom right in on. Sarah's
like,
dad's
"Wait,
name is Roger. He's my friend Roger.
we're like, we love Roger here."
He really is the greatest. I'm very excited. Can you tell us about Gina Kingsbury? Because you talked about her a bit already. She's the general manager of the Toronto team. You've worked with her for a long time with the national team. For context, I guess Gina was the general manager of the Canadian women's national team since 2018, I believe. She got a promotion recently as VP of hockey operations. So she's been involved for a long time. Gold medalist as a player, gold medalist in that kind of front office role. But like, what can you tell us from your position of working with Gina and knowing her in a different way? What do we need to know about the newest general manager in Toronto?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, like when you talk about Gina's accomplishments, because sometimes we forget she was a player and like won gold medals and like was an incredible player on the national team, because she's had such an impact on us in a different way. And I feel very fortunate because I can 100% attest to the fact that when Gina took our program over, she completely changed the trajectory of it. And so, I mean, when I heard she was coming to Toronto, like I just couldn't believe it, because I knew that that was going to be a franchise to be reckoned with. Mm-hmm. And so her work over the last few years has been pretty incredible. I spoke with the para hockey team as well, and they were like, she's worked with us for the last few months, and like, we couldn't be happier to have her here. And so it's definitely sad for Hockey Canada that she's leaving in her role, but definitely exciting for us. And I know that her and I have an incredible working relationship. I remember a couple of years ago, before the Olympics, actually, when I was hurt, there were many times where I was sitting in the medical room and Gina was sitting there with me, and we'd have these like real and just honest conversations about like the visions for the future. And at the time, we were speaking about Hockey Canada and where we could go as a program and how we can develop those younger girls. But we've had so many conversations about the pro league in the last 2 years, and she's been like our biggest advocate. And I know that that will definitely continue. But it's funny when people talk about the team that she looks to build, and she talks about personality, and like, she's not lying. Like Gina looks to build a team of people who can work together and be successful. And I don't know if like, I don't think she thinks you can put all of the best players in the world in one room. You have to have a puzzle. And so she's somebody that is looking to build an effective puzzle that's going to be successful. So I'm super excited to see what we're able to build.
Are you talking to her about the second pick in the draft? Come on.
Yeah.
Are you in her ear there?
Mock draft time. Let's go.
Draft.
Mock draft with Sarah Nurse.
I'm not in her ear about it, but I spoke to her the other day, and she's like, I cannot wait for our first couple picks in the draft. So I'm sure I'll get like maybe an inside scoop as we get a little bit closer, but nothing yet.
Okay. All right.
We were trying to decide, but it's interesting because it's hard to know, because we haven't seen what all the GMs kind of like to do yet, other than with these top 3 signings. So
I mean, strategies could be totally different. You could be looking at a team that wants to win right now versus a team that wants to win in 3 years, right? And so there are a lot of exciting players in the draft as well. Some younger players, some players who are just coming out of college, some older veteran players. So there are a lot of different directions that things can go in.
How do we get, and I say we as somebody who lives in Toronto, how do we get Sarah Fillier to leave Princeton?
No, honestly.
Like, you're good. You're done. You've done what you need to do.
You're done. You have finished. It was funny. Like, I was talking to her a little bit about it, because somebody asked a question about her and I guess the media availability, that first press conference. And she was like,
that might have been me.
Yeah, was it you? Okay.
I have a guess for the record. Yeah.
Because I was like, can you clear this up? Like, could Sarah Fillier declare for the draft but not sign, like play the whole year and then sign? Like, and how do we?
Yeah. And so it's funny, because as we spoke about like the 3 franchise player, that model, that was like one of the details that we had to iron out, because we were like, could somebody technically sign a Sarah Fillier or Anela Lepsanova? Is that how you say her? Like, could somebody hypothetically, could somebody hypothetically sign a player like that and just lock up their rights, right? And so those are little details we had to iron out. But And I was talking to her a little bit just after she left for Princeton. She's like, so do I declare for the draft? And I was like, girl, that is up to you. But if you get drafted, you are done.
Yeah, like you need to leave.
You need to leave. And so I know she's pretty happy going into her senior year at Princeton, although I would selfishly love for her to be in the draft. She's got some work to do in Princeton.
Yeah, she can maybe finish up a degree or something. Like,
yeah, maybe graduate.
Maybe. I don't know. Just barely did. It's okay.
She's been in college for like 6 years though, so.
Oh my God.
She's still so young. I feel like I don't even want to look at how old some of the young, like Caroline Harvey. She's like,
oh, I know.
I'm like,
I know, like a sophomore in college.
Like, stop.
Wild.
Yeah, they're tiny.
I'm
so
old.
good.
Little babies.
Terrible. Can we do a bit of player scouting with you of your teammates here? Blair Turnbull, Renata Fast. They're, your other franchise players here in Toronto. What do people need to know about Blair Turnbull?
What I would say about both of them off the bat is that they are like complete players and people. They're both incredible leaders, but on the ice, like they are some of the most complete players I think that we have in our game from both an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint. And it's kind of cool to see their development over the last year because they've been given bigger offensive roles, each in their own respective right. And it's been kind of cool to see them be like, oh, I can take this. Like I can be offensive. I can score goals. I can generate offense. And so it's been cool to see their development. But I mean, Blair, like she is completely dynamic. She can play in a bunch of different spaces. You're going to see that girl driving up the middle, taking people with her, taking names. But she's a pretty special player and somebody who I've looked up to. She played at Wisconsin with me. She was my captain. So she's somebody that I've definitely looked up to a lot. And I mean, Renata, it's cool to see her evolution because I remember playing against her in high school and, she wasn't the most flashy player. She wasn't the best player ever. And to see where she's at now, I've never had to play against her since leaving college, which has been a lot of fun because she's tough to play. She is tough to play against. So that's why we always joke around. We're continuing the streak. But yeah, again, just a super, like she's obviously so fast, but an all around player and somebody who I wanted on my team very badly.
I think one of the coolest things about this has always been, especially for the last couple of years, is the dialogue kind of amped up around a league like this. Watching the national teams in particular, and seeing players like Blair, maybe play a little bit further down the lineup, on a national team. The idea of them, if you have that talent that's spread out across 6 teams, the idea of someone like Blair Turnbull maybe getting to play like more traditional like top 6 role or kind of like to like top 6 minutes, and it's fun to pick out players like off the national teams and think like, man, it's going to be really cool to see them get those, maybe get used in like a slightly different role where, some of their other talents are going to be able to come out or at least be a little bit more, on display. Right.
Yeah. I think that was super evident to me last year with our showcases. I look at Blair as somebody who 100% I thought she broke out and she showed how great of a player she is and what she can do when she is given the opportunity. Another one's Laura Stacey. Like she was on Team Adidas the whole year and she was like day in, day out, consistently most like our best player. And so I'm super excited that she's able to have that opportunity in Montreal because like, I don't know. I feel like people sleep on her a little bit. She's a steal. So
yeah.
I texted her. I was like, I'm a little jealous you went to Montreal, but I look at Blair and Stace and I'm like, those are 2 players that are going to absolutely thrive and pop off.
And I'm sure you saw it because you played together at Wisconsin, but like Emily Clark was unbelievable in PW last season and had a hat trick in the championship game. And I feel like if you just knew her from the national team, you're like, oh, like super gritty, like on great third line. But then you watch her and she got to flex those like offensive skills a little bit more. I'm excited for this season.
I know. I think that's just the beauty of it. Like, and when I look at, when you're talking about a national team, like I feel like our players are just so versatile and we've all played in so many different spots. And so I just think it's going to be cool.
I think you went your Olympic year. You were like,
I played with everybody.
You were on the 4th line at one point, like
Yeah.
4C, like doing your thing.
Yeah.
That's great. And then you're on the
Yeah.
first line and then you set an Olympic record.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay.
Very casual. Yes.
Yeah. And honestly, like, I think about that. And I think in my career, people always ask like what I'm good at. And I think that's what I take the most pride in, is the fact that like whatever a coach needs, like I feel like I can provide that. And although like sometimes a 4C isn't the sexiest position, isn't the position that you necessarily want, because obviously you want to be on the ice as much as you can, but it is like a vital role. And I totally recognize that, especially in, when was it, 2021 in the World Championship in Calgary, how important the role that myself, Emma, Jill, Stace, KO played. And so I just think that versatility is something that a lot of our players embody.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about playing against Renata. You don't have to worry about playing against Blair. Who on the roster, maybe Pooh doesn't count. Who on the roster are you like most dreading playing against in this?
Nobody wants to
capacity?
play against her, so we'll
Nobody
just skip over her.
Yeah, we'll just skip over Pooh. Who am I most playing against? Clarky is always so annoying, and I've told her that, like, she's one of my best friends. I've told her that ever since I first met her. She's the most annoying player to play against. I would say probably Anne Renee though, because she knows me so well. And so sometimes good. I have to pull out some crazy ish to beat that girl. I scored a goal at her last year where I like came in and I ended up deking her. And I made her look like ridiculous, but she was like, I thought you were going to shoot. That was it. It's so
you got to pull out the bag of tricks on her.
Exactly. So she's just somebody that I know so well, and she's literally the best goalie in the world. So not looking forward to playing her.
No, the competition levels can be great. We're super excited for the draft. That's September 18th in Toronto. Are you going to be there? You going to like call out the picks, hand out some jerseys?
I don't know what I'm doing there, but I will be there. I was invited yesterday. So
wow, congratulations.
I'm super excited. The PWHL sent me an email. So I will be there. I'm not sure what I'll be doing there, but I'm excited because I know that there are going to be some draftees who are invited as well. And so it should be an awesome afternoon where everybody's going to find out their new team.
This is awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. We are obviously very excited for the season. I think I'm going to be just covering women's hockey full time this year.
Perfect.
Which is super great. So I'll bug you again. Thank you for doing this. And we appreciate all the insight and good luck this season.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Look forward to speaking soon.